So the reason that I have this channel, the Happy Wife School, is really because about 7 years ago, I had a profound awakening in my own marriage where previous to this awakening, my focus was always on my husband, uh, what I wanted to change about him, what I needed him to do, who I needed him to be in the relationship for me to feel okay, to feel like we had a healthy and good relationship. I can remember, I know a lot of you can probably relate to this. I can remember sending my husband like self-help articles daily, n not because I was interested in them or about them, even though I was to an extent. I wanted him to read them because I was so desperate to find ways to try to get him to change because I was so convinced it was him that was the problem in the relationship. I was focused on we and what we needed to do to make the relationship good. And there was virtually no focus at all on myself or what I needed to do or how I needed to change, or that I even needed to do anything to change. Those weren't any thoughts in my own awareness. And then through the help of my mentor, actually two of my mentors, and reading a book by Dr. Laura, The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands, um, through the help of my mentors, through the help of Dr. Laura's book, I began to realize that I really needed to look at myself and how I was showing up in my relationship with my husband, as a woman, as a wife, and really begin to actually be shocked at some of my behaviors and seeing myself and what I like to say, like pulling back the curtain of who I was in the relationship that I was completely blind to until I had the support of my mentors and the support of that book to really call me out, to help call me out and hold me accountable to my own behaviors and my relationship. That without that support, I never would have known to look at myself or known that these were behaviors I needed to change. And what I began to see about myself, like I said, was pretty shocking, but I was really hungry for it because somewhere deep in me, I knew I was the problem and I knew I needed to address these things. I needed them exposed to me. I needed to be called out. I needed to have my feet held to the fire, so to speak. And I began to see all the ways that I shut, all the ways that I shut my husband out and had my walls up. I was unavailable. I called myself once I was able and had the right context to see these things about myself. I called myself the ice queen, where I would just ice my husband out and say everything was fine. The ways that I would constantly pick at him and nag at him and try to control him and change him that made him feel really bad about himself and like he couldn't do anything right. And that he was just wrong and bad for being a man. Um, he felt completely disapproved of by me, judged by me, because I was incredibly critical, incredibly judgmental, something you'll hear a lot about on this channel. I had to see all the ways I was emasculating and the ways that I would shame and make my husband weak and and really pull him down to make him weak. And while it was difficult in the beginning to take a hard look at these things and my behaviors and how that was deeply, deeply impacting how my husband and I were together in our relationship, it was refreshing in a weird sense of the way. I know that sounds weird with what I'm sharing. Um, but it was refreshing to begin to see who I was and how I was treating my husband and the destruction that that was having on him, but also the destruction that that was having on me, that it prevented me from really knowing myself as a loving and kind woman. I didn't know myself as soft, even though I would maybe pretend to be that on the outside and wear a facade. I never experienced myself as soft or genuinely kind and loving. And as I began to see these behaviors and how I was really showing up in my marriage, that was actually, which is counterintuitive to us, that was actually my doorway in to really begin to know myself as a woman and to feel really good about myself and embrace our natural qualities as women that we shut out and put walls up to because we're so scared to be who we truly are as women out of fear of being hurt and being crushed in life. But as I began to drop my walls and experience my kindness and my softness and experience myself as lovely, that's where I began to really find me and feel strong in myself. And it's where my marriage began to do a 360. And I saw my husband becoming stronger in himself and us actually truly getting along, not just faking it and having respect for each other. Um, One thing that I had forgot to mention earlier that will be important to mention is that I had massive walls up around sex and was very withdrawn and using sex as a and withdrawing sex as a weapon to punish my husband, knowing how important that is to him in a marriage as a man. And I was depriving myself of that as well. So as I began to change and drop my walls and stop emasculating my husband and catch myself in these destructive behaviors, we began to have sex again and it was fun. And we began to have intimacy between each other. Um, and we began to have what I call a dance in our marriage through the ups and downs, both our own personal ups and downs and then our ups and downs of marriage. And because of this, because of being called out and held accountable to my behaviors and changing, just working on me to change, step and took the focus off trying to get my husband to change or for us to work on the marriage. I just started working on me and dropping my walls and beginning to discover who I was and really showing up as a real woman in my marriage. My marriage has become my greatest teacher to really be happy in myself, to know who I am, to feel proud of who I am as a woman. And I get to watch my husband have the benefit of that and our marriage have the benefit of that. And it has been a journey of growing and learning. It's pushed me. And it's been a really beautiful journey to watch myself unfold and then to watch my marriage unfold and blossom and continue to blossom and unfold as I continue to use my marriage as a way to evolve as a woman and become a loving, kind wife from me to really know myself as that and get to watch my husband have the benefit of that. It's been an incredible journey and one that I am very passionate about sharing with other women, which is why I have this channel to share the things that I've learned in marriage as a woman with you so that you can use your marriage as a way to grow and learn and evolve as a woman and a wife and to have a place to come to that is supportive, to be called out for our behaviors as women so that we can change and we can evolve. None of what I share exposing our what I call our woman ways is meant to make us wrong or bad or to shame us as women. It's meant to be constructive and loving so that we can outgrow and let go of the limitations and uh, the limitations and bad behaviors we have as women with our walls up, with making men wrong, of being emasculating, that we can use those behaviors once we pull back the curtain like I had to and look in the mirror and see those things about ourselves. It's a way for us to actually change because we can't change without seeing those things in ourselves. So that's what my channel is about is helping to call us out in a loving but firm way as women so that we can change and evolve as women and become loving, kind wives as a wonderful personal growth journey to really feel good about who we are, to be happy in ourselves, and to also have loving, healthy relationships with our husbands and the loving, healthy marriages that we have wanted. So, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. You're going to learn wonderful things in this channel. You'll be pushed. You won't always like me. I'll piss you off. But when you lean into that and you really are open to seeing these things about yourself, um, you have a whole wonderful, beautiful you inside of you waiting to blossom and waiting to come out. And that's my hope for every woman who watches my videos and is part of this channel. So thank you for being here.